Calix Boxing here. Hit that sub button for nightly boxing videos. Gabe Rosado versus Willie Monroe Jr. The prediction video. Gabe Rosado 23 and 9, 39% KO percentage. Willie Monroe Jr. 20 and 2, 27% KO percentage. 5'9", 74-inch reach. Gabe Rosado 6 foot 71-inch reach. So Gabe Rosado has the clear height advantage. However, Willie Monroe Jr. has the reach advantage, and I think that's interesting in this fight because I was watching Willie Monroe Jr. fight against his latest fight that was in June against John Thompson, I believe the guy's name was, and that was his first fight since the Golovkin fight. He took 13 months off to recuperate from that fight, and he looked sharp in this fight. He looked sharp, and it's tough to gauge Willie Monroe Jr. because besides the Golovkin fight, he hasn't really stepped up much. I mean, he fought Brian Vera before then and beat him. Lost to Darnell Boone back in 2010, but other than that, there's not much really to gauge from him, being that he hasn't been in there with world class opposition. Gabe Rosado has, besides Golovkin, and Gabe Rosado has a clear advantage as far as experience goes. 23 and 9, he has those 9 losses. Every time he's stepped up, pretty much he's lost. Besides the Soto Carras win, Sashu Powell win, every time, like the Lemieux, Charlo, Quillen, Love, Golovkin. Although against Quillen and Love, he looked pretty good in those fights. He looked decent in those fights, and he fared better against Golovkin. However, I don't know what you can gauge off of that. I mean, that's their common opponent, but I don't know really what you can tell off of that as far as picking the fight. I mean, he lasted longer. It seemed like he had a bit of a better chin than Willie Monroe Jr. However, that's not going to matter in this fight because neither guy is a big puncher, especially Gabe Rosado moving up to 160. And Willie Monroe Jr. not a big puncher at 160. But when I would look at this fight, the reason I say the reach advantage, I think is a big deal because if you watch Monroe Jr. fight, he's a southpaw to start off with. I don't know how many southpaws Gabe Rosado has fought in his career. It doesn't look like too many if you look at his resume. And he's a very slick southpaw, and he's fast. He gets in and out quick, and when he throws that, the reach is very deceptive with him from what I've seen because he's not a tall guy, but he's got long arms, and guys like that can be tough to fight because you think you're out of reach of the jab because the guy is so short, but you're not because his arms are so damn long, and he snaps that jab out there, and he's got a very good counter right hook as well, by the way. But what makes him even more difficult is he crouches down on the outside, so you get this false sense of security that you're out of range, and as soon as he snaps that jab, you're like, oh damn, the jab is long, and he throws it quick. He's got a very good jab, and like I said, very good counter right hook as well. But um, Gabe Rosado, he can fight on the outside too, but his problem is he wants to get in on the inside and bang. And he's not going to be able to stay on the outside and beat Willie Monroe Jr. I don't believe. I think Willie Monroe Jr. definitely has um, sharper tools as far as on the outside if he finds his range. I think he's going to be too quick for Rosado. Rosado's got to get on the inside and work. And I think ultimately this is a pretty good matchup. It's not a co-main event for a pay-per-view matchup. To me, this is what you would normally see on a ShoBox main event. One of those very good matchups that you see on there that could turn into a good fight, and it could turn into one of those fights where after the fight, it's a close fight, and it all depends on stylistically what you prefer. Do you prefer the guy who controls distance and looks good technically, his punches are flashier, or do you prefer the guy who's workmanlike and goes on the inside and goes to the body? And speaking of that, Willie Monroe Jr. is a tough guy to go to the body on because um, he's got long arms and he's got a short upper body. You watch him fight, and he crouches down, like I said, so he doesn't show you much downstairs as far as the body goes. So he's just a tricky dude, but it's still tough to gauge where he's at in his career because he is a talented fighter. However, there's not much to go off of on his resume besides the Golovkin fight, and everybody gets blasted away by Golovkin. So he's beat Brian Vera, and Rosado, I'd put him maybe a notch, a small notch above Brian Vera, maybe, or maybe even on the same notch. I'm not sure. So it's tough to gauge. The experience definitely goes with Rosado. Technical wise, Monroe Jr. is definitely the better technical fighter, I would say. Um, I'm favoring Willie Monroe Jr. I'm going to predict Willie Monroe Jr. to win this fight by unanimous decision. I just think he's going to snap that jab out there, control the pace of the fight, and I think his speed is going to bother Gabe Rosado, especially early in the fight. And then Gabe Rosado is going to. He is a crafty fighter. He's from Philly. He's one of those crafty fighters. He's one of those guys that you're not going to be able to um, just rough up and get out of there early. You're going to have to earn your paycheck. He's going to get on the inside. He's going to start timing Willie Monroe Jr. So as the middle rounds go on, it's going to start evening out. But I think Willie Monroe Jr. is going to edge him. I just think his speed and his ability to get in and out, and I just think Rosado is going to have a tough time finding that distance and consistently scoring on the inside against this guy. So I like Monroe Jr. to win the fight by unanimous decision. Who do y'all like? Hit me up. I think this is a good matchup. I think it's a good matchup, even fight. But I tend to think that Monroe Jr. is gonna be able to win this fight. And more of the natural middleweight, more of the natural middleweight. Been in less wars. I think he's fresher. He looked really good in his last fight. He took some time off, and he got rid of that ring rust, so he's ready to go for this fight. So I like Willie Monroe Jr. Y'all hit me up. Y'all let me know who y'all liked for this fight. Monroe Jr. or Gabe Rosado. Peace.